Well, joining me in the studio to discuss more on this abduction is managing editor of the Avalon Daily, Ayodele Adio, and security consultant and CEO Zoomlens Security, Dennis Amakri. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, divergent reactions has trailed this abduction. A lot of Nigerians are saying, like the Dapchi incident, like Chibok, and some other incidents that has happened across the country. That what really is going on? Is it that we are overwhelmed, or what really is at the heart of this repeated incidents, history having to repeat itself when it comes to the abduction of children? I'll start with you, Dennis Amakri.
You know, it's a situation where we are repeating ourselves without solving the problems, because this problem shouldn't have happened at all.
Really?
You heard people talking about the Safe School initiative,
Yes.
you know, which started off with a fund of about $10 million, and they are open to even draw more from a $509 million worldwide. And of course, what is it all about? It's for making sure that all schools are safe.
Absolutely.
For children to be there. And this was because of the Chibok girl. And this started in 2014. And so for us not to have even organized the community security groups, because community security groups are supposed to be organized to take care of each school, to create a buffer around each school to make sure that nobody attacks schools again. After that, we've got the Dapchi one. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, other schools have been attacked, and especially this one. And now we're going back the same old lane of paying ransom, negotiating to pay ransom. You see, because there should be a zero tolerance to paying ransom. When you go and negotiate and you pay them, they take the money, they buy more arms to fight you in future, they buy food, and then when it's all, after a while, they come back again. So government have to take a decision, because we cannot go, this is a rigmarole. We cannot continue in this rigmarole where we are sponsoring terrorism.
That's what it is.
Because we are giving them money to continue attacking us. So I don't know. The Katsina state governor has already said it, that we're in touch with them to talk about them.
And that, because a lot of Nigerians are saying, since we already know the location, as it is being reported, why negotiate with them?
Exactly. Because, see, we helped the American government to extract a hostage, an American hostage in Nigeria here, you know, through the help of our Nigerian security agencies. Now we have our own, we even know the location, and why can't we go ahead and extract them? People are saying, oh, okay, the people might be using the children as human shield, but they are, you know, if it's a clinical operation, just like the one in Niger, yes. It's easy, and I think they should be able to do something about it than to encourage these boys to continue coming back for more.
All right, let's get your perspective to this issue, Ayodele. The location of the boys are known, and the government is still looking at negotiating. And the northern elders are already angry, saying that perhaps the government should look at sacking the service chiefs, and so that there can be some sort of a direction to tackling issues like this from occurring again.
I mean, I am tired. You know, for a second I went blank because I feel like I don't know what to say again. First of all, we have even defined the problem wrongly. And I'm glad that my good Egmont mentioned that it's some sort of terrorism here. Because if you look at the modus operandi and if you study the trends, as what happened in Chibok and what happened in Dapchi, when you can't call this act an act of banditry because it's calculated. You have attacked schools, and the trends have shown that terrorist organizations particularly attack schools to send a message of Western education to deter local communities from sending their kids for Western education. The second is that you kidnap these children, which is another modus operandi of terrorists, so that they can negotiate with the government and extract huge sums of money. And here you have, according to the report of the boy who escaped, over 500 students who were kidnapped. So that's some good money for these kids. And why people think...
For the kids?
Yeah, for the terrorists, yeah. And why we assume that it's... we should organize a tactical or a SWAT team to extract these kids. We've put ourselves in a very difficult position. Because the question you have to ask is, how do you move 200, let's even say 200, and not the 330 you reported or the 586 that the boy reported? Let's be conservative and say 200. How do you move 200 children from their school in broad daylight across a city or an entire community into the forest and not a confrontation from a single security agency? It tells you a complete breakdown of internal security in a country, and we should be frightened development. And if we continue at this pace, we continue to embolden this terrorist organization or these bandits that we are so weak internally that we can dare any security architecture, walk into any community or any city, abduct as much children as we can adopt, and brazenly stroll out of the city in majesty without the slightest of confrontation. And to that extent, I agree that the service chiefs on who this dastardly act, this brazen act of criminality has happened, should not even wait for calls to be sacked, should not even wait for calls to be resigned. They should voluntarily resign. You should, I mean, on your watch. And I'm also disgusted that as we speak, we still do not have an exact figure from the government. They are telling you 338, the spokesperson sometime yesterday said 10. I mean, if you cannot clearly articulate the amount of people who are missing, who are you actually trying to rescue in the first place? Exactly. It's folly. If you're telling me you cannot determine who exactly is missing in a school that has a clear register, that has a headmaster, that has a PTA, you cannot tell me how many kids are missing. You're still disputing 4 days after, then you're joking that you are going to rescue them because you don't know who you're actually going to rescue. So for me, it's a shame that, like he rightfully said, an American hostage was extracted a few weeks ago. And of course, they put flowery comments on the security agencies in Nigeria that helped them to do that. And here we are. Are we saying that the life of those kids do not matter? Are we saying that the lives of those children in those communities do not matter? And I thought that reports that quoted Garba Shehu yesterday was mistaken when I saw that he said that the governor was briefing the president as to the ongoing rescue operation. And I just heard it now again in your report that the governor is briefing the president on the ongoing rescue mission.
What should it have been? Because a lot of
Nigerians
are angry.
No. The governor does not control any major security architecture in this country. Everything, didn't you see soldiers deployed there? Does the governor control soldiers?
Of course he doesn't.
The commander-in-chief should be the one in the situation room leading these efforts and in fact briefing the country. And not the governor saying that he's briefing the president. I don't know.
Right. So much to say with regards to this issue. He mentioned something that I'd like for you to react to, Dennis. He talked about the fact that does it mean that the lives of these children do not matter? Is that what is seeming like for that kind of brazen attack without any sort of confrontation coming out of the school and taking them into the forest? Is that the situation that we are seeing? Is it a pointer that lives are no longer what they should be? The value we place on lives are not what it is anymore.
But while looking at the spokesman for the president, even saying it is 10, I think without even checking, if you go down to the school now, you find out parents. There are more than 100 there.
Of course.
You know, and all of them, at least there was a guy who has 2 kids, and some have 1 and stuff like that. Now, if you even, on a cursory estimate, guesstimate, look at that, you will know that there are more children there. And for a spokesman to come out, and it shows, and this is not the first time he's doing this, because all the time he will say, oh, only 20 were killed, not 100, as the press was saying. Even if it is one, you know, we have to take life seriously. And taking life seriously, one of the first steps again is that, just like I just said, we need to know their names. We don't know who they are.
Their records.
Exactly. There is a principal of that school, and the principal should have got the list by now.
From the school record, they said it's about 660 students.
Whatever the number is, the principal by now would have, because this is a hostage situation. It's a kidnap situation, and we should treat it as such, you know, and there are procedures. One of the procedures is to take care of the families. You have to placate the families while you are negotiating or whatever, or rescuing.
The information from the report we just played is the fact that one of the families saying that they are not even getting as much information.
They were not talking to them. They are not talking to the families. You know, you have to gather them together, address them, tell them, look, okay, we have a list here of the people we feel are missing. Number one, this, that, all the way down. Is there any parent here that does not hear the name of his child? Let us know. And you see raising of hands and stuff like that. You know, you have to be systematic about this. You don't just go around and say, oh, we are negotiating with them. That means the man has gone to see the president and say, okay, after the negotiation, they want so million, then we take it and go and give to them. No. You know, you cannot continue encouraging these guys. Now you know where they are. Why don't we squeeze them to make them know that, you know, this particular venture they are trying to carry out will not bring a kobo to them? You know, government have to come out with its might. Fortunately, they are not in a foreign country, and again, they are in Nigeria. We should be able to squeeze them out.
Right. Now, we know that the North have had cases of out-of-school children. A majority of the number of out-of-school children is within the northern region. And issues like this, where parents have to be worried about sending their children to school, I wonder how this is compounding issues of education, because these are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow. And the future of the country also lies at their hands. If a situation like this continue, what kind of future does this portend for the country? And again, an idle hand being the devil's workshop, as it is always said.
I think the North is in a bigger problem than you think it has. And by extension, Nigeria is in a bigger trouble than we think we're in. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any sense of urgency. David Galula, a French counterinsurgency expert whose book has influenced thinking in counterinsurgency for the last 40 years, listed a few conditions upon which insurgency thrive, and it's difficult for you to deal with in any place in the world. And the 4 things he mentioned was a high illiterate and poor population, porous borders, a weak, corrupt government, and a weak police system. All of these 4 factors are predominant in northern Nigeria. So there's a high illiterate population. Their borders are tremendously porous. That's why you see terrorists can easily switch through the Niger, Chad borders, northern Cameroon. There's a weak policing, of course, across Nigeria. And of course, there's a lot of corruption in the country. To that extent, all you can see is a dark future in northern Nigeria and in Nigeria if we don't begin to get our acts together. Because as we speak today, I mean, it looks like, this is the biggest fish in the fry, but yesterday, kidnaps happened in Niger State.
Right.
People were killed. As we speak, I'm sure before we leave this studio, you'll hear another news of people killing in Borno or people dying in Yobe. The entire northern Nigeria has become a killing field. People are dying in their tents every single day, and we do not seem to have a grip as to what is happening in our country. And I'm afraid, I get scared by the day that you just might cede your country to non-state actors if you don't act appropriately. You have consequences on food security because farmers can no longer go to farms. Poverty is going up in the north because they cannot work. they cannot feed themselves. We get to a situation where, as I used the price of food skyrocketing beyond the reach of the average Nigerian. So all of these issues you see in isolations or in silos have broader consequences for our country. And it doesn't look to me like there's a cohesive approach towards dealing with this security problem. And we keep on blaming the military entirely. And to me, they are overstretched because it looks like our entire strategy is focused on boots on ground and air power of the military. And you cannot deal with insecurity with just boots on ground if the conditions that fuel this insecurity are still very much prevalent today, which is poverty, social unrest, porous borders, corruption, and all those other things. So you need a situation where there's a coordinated effort from the civilian and the political leadership to say that, I mean, look at the Safe School initiative that was relegated to the background till today. I tell you sincerely, I visit the North almost frequently. The only thing that has changed in the last 7 years is the military strategy on ground. Nothing else has changed. Every other thing is still business as usual. You still have the same puritanical, right-wing preachers who are still on radio in northern Nigeria, who still preach extremist messages in certain communities. You still have poverty. You still have thousands, if not millions, of Almajiri children on the streets without roof over their head, without food. So the conditions, the supply chain of terrorism and banditry is still very much prevalent today. And we think that we expect the soldiers to solve the problem, then we're joking. We are completely joking. Until we fix those conditions, we are not going to make any progress whatsoever.
Right. Dennis, if we are to have a cohesive approach and, deal with this head on, where should we begin tackling these issues? Because the future of the country, like you rightly pointed out, is at stake here.
Well, in fact, he was spot on when he started mentioning the root causes of terrorism, insurgency, because the root causes are there. And these root causes are poverty, unemployment, hunger, and stuff like that. Now, we are fighting an asymmetric enemy who is more organized, so to say, because he knows where to hit us, and then they go ahead and do it. Number one, he knows that Nigeria is moving towards a festive period. What did they do? They went down to Zabamari and then killed 100 farmers who were harvesting food, which is going to come into the festive season.
Period, yeah.
Now, they've done that, and okay, they are basically saying that Western education is not good or whatever. And of course, let's not be very, very carried away about it. These particular bandits are an extension of Boko Haram, because that is their funding. The way they fund themselves is by either kidnapping or bank robbery and stuff like that. So this is an extension. And if we are just looking at Boko Haram as being in Sambisa forest, then we're making a very big mistake. They've infiltrated into the country. They are now operating as bandits all the way down to even the southern part of the country. And then I think what we have to do is to go back, sit back, go to the drawing board, and then address this issue. Because if we don't, we keep on addressing the symptoms.
And not the root cause.
And not the root causes. Then we're in trouble.
Right. We'll leave the conversation here now for this issue, but we must thank you, security consultant and CEO Zoomlens Security, Dennis Amakri, as well as Ayodele Adio, that's editor, The Ireland Daily. Thank you so much for your time on the program.